Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the BSN podcast. Today is Thursday, July 28th. Hope everybody had a good rest of their day yesterday and is having a good day so far here today. It is, in fact, Thursday, July 28th here today, coming off of Game 2 of the Subway Series last night. Tough loss for the New York Yankees as they lose on a walk-off single by Starling Marte. But shortly after the game, Brian Cashman, Hal Steinbrenner, and the Yankees front office make a big trade, and they bring in Andrew Benintendi, which is a huge addition for the New York Yankees. Love the move. Did not have to give up much. It was three middle-of-the-pack prospects, and the New York Yankees get a much-needed boost to their outfield. So we're going to get into this move. Not going to get right into it now because it's coming up on our first topic. But the bottom line is it's a big move. We're going to get into it. And, coming off a tough loss last night, we needed to make a move. The Yankees, we all know that we needed another bat. And even though the trade deadline is August 2nd, Cashman and company getting to work early. So a much needed and a big move for the New York Yankees. Like I mentioned, tough loss last night. They'll be back in action tonight, though, against the Kansas City Royals. And it's funny because the Royals are playing against the Yankees tonight, Benintendi's former team. So Benintendi, I would imagine, probably flew with the Royals and then now has just got to hop over to a different clubhouse and now play for the Yankees 4 games against his former team. So I will tell you this. The Benintendi trade is interesting because we don't know if we're going to get a great look at him through these 4 games. If he struggles these 4 games, it's going to be interesting because the Royals know what he's about. They know how to pitch him and all that because he was on their team. So it's going to be interesting to see how he plays against the Royals, who are now in town 4-game set. So it's always funny when trade deadline stuff like this happens. But Yankees tonight against the Royals, first game of a 4-game set. I mean, you got to find a way to win these 4 games. I mean, it's the Royals. They're one of the worst teams in baseball. You should at least take 3 of these. No other way to put it, especially with Benintendi helping boost your lineup. So, Yankees tonight against the Royals, game 1 of a 4-game set. Mets day off. They'll be back in action tomorrow to open up a 3-game set down in Miami against the Marlins. All right, so let's get to the topics for today's podcast. Similar to yesterday, it's going to be a baseball topic and a football topic. It's that time of year. I'll continue to say it. A lot of baseball and football training camps opening up. So we're going to start off today with the big trade. Yankees trade for Andrew Benintendi, a big-time splash. Really the first big trade for the New York Yankees and the entire MLB, really, of the trade deadline. So, Yankees get their much-needed outfield help. I talked about this about a month ago. 3 big options for the Yankees. Benintendi was my top guy that I wanted. I know when Soto came available, Soto was the big dream, but let's be honest here. We all knew Soto wasn't going to happen. Now, if the Yankees go out and make another splash for Soto, that'd be crazy. It just wouldn't make sense, but Benintendi was kind of on the top of the list of many Yankee fans. In the middle of a career year, a big-time addition for the New York Yankees. We're going to get into it and talk about what this means for the outfield and how this gives a boost for the Yankees and what other moves they could possibly looking to make, because I don't think the Yankees are done. We'll get to that. We're also going to get to Denzel Mims. Yes, have not talked about him much at all. Last year had a quiet year, did not play a ton, and his rookie year was a lot of injuries. But we all kind of believed in Denzel Mims to be that big-time receiver for us. He hasn't been, but yesterday he showed up in a big way at first day training camp. I know it's day 1, and a lot of things can change. Guys are going to have good days. Guys are going to have bad days. But yesterday, Denzel Mims really impressed and solid throughout the offseason workouts have said how he's come in ready to go, coming in good shape. Could Mims possibly be an option to be that depth piece, that guy that the Jets could really rely on if he continues this up? We'll get into that. And we'll also finish things off with the New York Sports Update to finish things off today. Packed day here on this Thursday, and it's going to be busy. Today, tomorrow, and then obviously August 2nd being the deadline. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be busy. There's going to be trades all over the place. Yankees already making a trade. You expect them to make another one. Mets, I'm sure, too. They already made a trade with Vogelbach, but you would expect them to make another one, too. So Trade deadline is just beginning, and we already got a big move. So with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get into it. So Game 2 of the Subway Series was last night, finishing up the quick 2-game set. They'll meet again in August at Yankee Stadium. Yankees took a tough loss 3-2, and Yankees front office kind of turned that tough loss into a happy moment for Yankee fans. Because as a fan last night, and by the way, so I watched the game, and Boone actually answered in his post-game press conference. I watched the Yankee game. I finished up putting all the stats into my scorebook, and then I went to bed. And the move happened at about 10:30, 10:40. So I went to bed. I probably put my phone away in 10:35 maybe. I just missed the trade by like a minute or two. I mean, like I said, Boone answered the question in his post-game press conference, and the trade got finalized quickly too. It wasn't one of those trades where it was like, they happened and then it took like a day or two to get finalized. No, it boom, 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 boom. It happened quick. Benintendi's a Yankee, and he'll be at the Bronx tonight against his former team against the Royals. Will he be in the lineup? We'll see. But bottom line is he's a Yankee, and it's a much-needed boost. So I found out about this move this morning, and it's funny. I looked at my phone, and I see Benintendi deal. Let's look at the Benintendi deal, and I'm like, Benintendi got traded, and then you see I scroll down a little lower, and it's got the icon. It says Yankees trade for Benintendi. I'm like, this is exactly what the Yankees need, and especially, and I think Cashman and the New York Yankees front office, I think especially made this move sooner rather than later, because they were like, look, other teams are going to want Benintendi. He's in the middle of a career year. We'll get into more of his numbers and his statistics and what he's done exactly this year. But other teams are going to want him. And if we can get him earlier, if we can get him sooner, if we can package a trade and get him now rather than wait a couple days when 3, 4, 5 other teams might be more heavily involved, if other outfielders are off the board and Benintendi's the only one remaining, Yankees jumped on this early, and that's what I love. It showed that Cashman felt an urgency. There's an urgency to this front office right now of the New York Yankees that's saying, like, look, we're struggling right now. We lost 2 games against the Astros coming out of the All-Star break. We lost both against the Mets. And I don't care how good or bad the Mets are. It's a Subway Series. You don't want to lose both games on the road against the Mets at Citi Field. You don't want to. And the fashion they lost them in. Blowing the 2-run lead in the first game and then losing last night again after putting up 2 runs in the top of the 8th, losing it in the bottom of the 9th. You don't want that. That's a bad taste in your mouth. And I like the urgency that Cashman and his front office is showing. 2 bad losses at Citi Field where you combine went 0-15 with runners in scoring position, couldn't get the runs across. Last night, couldn't get the runs across. 8 left on, 10 in the game prior. Just not able to get the big hit. Cashman and company knew there had to be something done. Pinch hitting for Joey Gallo. He goes down against Edwin Diaz without a fight on Tuesday night. Cashman knew there had to be something done, and this is exactly what the Yankees needed. Is Andrew Benintendi, a guy who's in the middle of a big year. And I mentioned this a month ago when I talked about possible trade options back in June. Benintendi was kind of the big guy, the big name. He's played within a division, right? He's already won, a World Series. He knows what he takes. He's had 2 really solid years in Kansas City, or I should say a year and a half actually in Kansas City because now he's traded. He was an all-star this year. He's very good defensively. He's a contact hitter. He's a good hitter with runners on. He gets on base. He's in the middle of a career year. That's my biggest takeaway. He's the guy's in the middle of a career year. And he's a free agent at the end of the season. So if you're the Yankees, and this is why the Yankees didn't have to give up a ton of prospects because they know he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. Do they bring him back? That's a different story way down the road. If he has a great year, finishes out, Yankees going to win a World Series, that's a completely different story down the road. Don't even need to focus on that right now. Right now, what the Yankees are focused on is improving this roster so they can get to the World Series and ultimately try to win that and bring home the 28th title and have a parade down the Canyon of Heroes. That's the biggest thing on the Yankees' mind. Free agency, that's way down the road. Maybe rebuilding teams are, just threw my pen. Maybe rebuilding teams are thinking about that. Yankees, however, are not. But this is a great trade. Contact hitter. And Yankees need that. Runners on, you need contact hitters. LeMahieu, contact hitter. But the Yankees have shown recently that outside, if they're not hitting the home run ball, they're not winning games. Last night they're too reliant on the home run. I should say, not hitting the home run. I should say, too reliant on the home run. Last night their only runs that scored was a 2-run homer by Glaber. Other than that, runners on, not able to come through. the night before. Judge and Rizzo, that was the two main damage in the first inning. Other than that, not able to come through in big moments. And I know last night there was a couple unlucky moments where LeMahieu lined out to Lindor, hit it right on the screws, with Donaldson and Higgy on, first and second. I know that. And there's nothing you could do about that. Trevino had a great hit. Was it Trevino? Or not Trevino. Who was it? It was, was it Torres? I think it was Torres who lined out with, or it was somebody else. I know LeMahieu had the line out, and then it was Torres too, I think. He had the line out in the sixth inning, and left two runners on. So it was a little unlucky. But the big thing is the Yankees have shown they've been too reliant on the home run. And other than the home run, they haven't been scoring. Game 1 of the Subway Series showed that. Game 2, they showed that. Even in Houston and in Baltimore at times, they showed that. Benintendi is exactly what the Yankees need. You're also going to see a lot less of Gallo now. And Gallo's days as a Yankee, I truly think, are dwindling because with this move, it kind of shows you that, look, the outfield's going to look a lot like Judge, Stanton, Benintendi, Hicks mixed in. Gallo's days as a Yankee are slowly coming to an end. The Yankees would be dumb to keep Gallo on their roster. I really, truly believe that. There's just no space for him. Especially come October when they expand the rosters, and even now, if you want to add another arm to the bullpen, or arm to their starting rotation, Gallo's just holding up a roster spot right now. So his days, I think, are numbered as a Yankee. Probably only a couple more days. This might be his final series as a Yankee. But this is exactly what the Yankees needed. A contact hitter. He's a lefty bat. He's not a power hitter. Yankees have enough of those. Judge power hitter. Rizzo can hit for, Rizzo, Stanton, all those guys. Those guys can hit for power. Those guys will hit home runs, right? They have their power in this lineup. Judge leading the league in home runs. Stanton and Rizzo both having big years when it comes to home run and power, right? Stan being an all-star, even though he's on the IL right now, but we all know what he's brought to the table this year. We don't need power. So Benintendi brings contact. He brings another left-handed bat. He brings a bat that when he's up there in big moments is going to be able to come through with runners on. It's almost like adding another LeMahieu. I'm not saying he's DJ LeMahieu. I think DJ LeMahieu is probably the best pure hitter in all of baseball. But I'm just using an example. Now you have Benintendi, very good contact hitter this season's batting .320. That's 5th best average in all of baseball. He has 3 home runs. Not going to hit for power, but he's got the 5th best average in all of baseball. 785 OPS. Defensively, he's going to get it done. 14 doubles this year, 111 hits, 40 runs scored, 39 RBIs. He'll also draw some walks, 39 walks. This season, .320 batting average, .387 on base percentage, a .398 slugging, and an OPS of .785. He's in the middle of a career season. He's a contact hitter, and I always say it's any time you can add another lefty bat is always a big, big plus for any team, not just the Yankees. Lefty bats bring a big, big advantage to any baseball team. Yankees, Mets, whoever you're talking about, lefties are big. And the reason why we as Yankee fans should feel a lot more pumped up about this move is because Gallo, we knew he was going to strike out a lot. We knew he was going to draw his walks. He was going to hit for power. We did not expect him to strike out that much and not hit for any power. Benintendi, though, he's just a better all-around hitter. He's a better all-around player. Gold Glover, defense. He's still only 20, he's 28 years old. He's, like I said, he's played within the division. He's a guy that, knows, what it takes to win. He's been in the World Series. He's been in big spots. He's had a year and a half very good play with the Royals. He's already played in a pretty big market in Boston. So it's not like he's played in Kansas City, a small market, his entire career. No, he's played in Boston. I mean, that's a pretty big market if you ask me. Now he's going to the Yankees. Right? Another big market. So he's used to it. A lot to like in this move. A lot to like. And, like I said, if the bottom falls out and it just crumbs and this trade blows up right in your face, he's a free agent at the end of the year. It's not like you have him locked up for another 3 more years. But I don't expect that to happen. A lot more excited about this move than I was with Gallo. I was fired up about Gallo because it was a lefty bat, short porch. But at the time, that was great. But it was lefty bat. That's good. But we needed a lefty. He was one of the big ones on the market. But he really, in hindsight, couldn't get runners in. When you really look at the deal, in the heat of the moment, I know we all loved it, but in hindsight, it was just, when you really think about it, it was a power-hitting bat to an lineup that already had power. We need contact. The lineup now has a lot of power. We need contact. We need guys that are going to get on. We need guys that are going to come up big in big situations, get hits, get on base. That's the big thing. Get on base, drive runners in, play good defense. That's what Benintendi is going to bring to the table. So 320 batting average, 3 home runs, 39 RBIs, 785 OPS. Like I said, that batting average of 320 is fifth. And his entire career, he's always he's a career 280 hitter. His worst year came in 2020 where he only played 14 games. It was the dumb COVID season, batted 103, barely played. But other than that, his 4 years with the Red Sox, 295, 271, 290, 266. I know that fifth year was 2020, only played 14 games. And in his year plus with the Royals, 276, 320. So it shows you those batting average. Played 5 years with Boston, 2 with the Royals, or whatever you want to say, year and a half with the Royals. His career numbers are 280, 352, 432, and OPS is 785. So, and his OPS this year is at 785. So he's right at his career average. So he's right at where his marks are for his career. So he's having a career year. He's just in such a, you watch him play, and I've seen him play a couple times this year. He's just in such a rhythm when he's up there. He's just such a good contact hitter. Gets the bat to the ball, gets on base. He's fast. He's quick. There's a lot to like about this move for Andrew Benintendi. And his strikeout numbers this year too are down too. Only 52 Ks this year. Gallo, just using example. Benintendi struck out 52 times. Gallo, I think it's 103. So just to put it into perspective of how much better Benintendi is than Gallo and how much of an upgrade this is. And like I said, the whole small market stuff, I'm not concerned about that because he played 5 years in Boston. And we know how Boston is, especially when you're going up against Boston's a winning market. It's a big market. It's Boston. There's a lot of pressure when it comes to playing for Boston, right? A lot of pressure when it comes for playing for the Yankees. So I'm not worried about this being a small market. People saying, "Oh, he come from." No. He's played 5 years in Boston. That's a very tough media market, especially. We all know how Boston is with New York, battling, back and forth, the rivalry. It's just, he's played there, he's done that. So I have no issues with that, and I love the move. I love the move for the New York Yankees, and I just love that they did it with a sense of urgency because they lost the 2 games at Citi Field against the Mets Subway Series. It's just a bad look. And when you're able to, come through with a deal like that after a game like that, that can add a jolt to a team. That can add a bolt of energy to a team. Because right now, the Yankees need that bolt of energy. And I said it yesterday on the program. I said, look, it's not time to panic. And I was right. I said it's not time to panic. I said you need to make moves at the deadline to improve this roster. Yankees do that. And now you feel a lot better. Now, Yankees still have work to do. Although Herman pitched well last night, and I was pleasantly surprised by the way he pitched last night, 4 2/3, 2 runs, 7 Ks, was really solid. Got Marte to strike out a lot. Was commanding the zone. I mean, did his job, did what he needed to do. Got Marte to strike out 3 times, who ended up after once Herman left. Herman had Marte's number. Herman struck out Marte 3 times. After that, Marte had a hit off of Licky, and then he had a hit off of Peralta. And that hit off of Peralta was the walk-off. So, one of those things where it was, once they took Herman out, Marte started to hit the ball. Just using that example, but to kind of go off the track there with just that Marte stuff, but to reel it back in, the Yankees still need another arm. So you get your bat, you get Benintendi. Do the Yankees go out and get another bat? I don't know. I would probably say no. Unless if maybe a player that nobody saw coming comes available, or unless if the Yankees call up and someone's available for a lot less than maybe they would ask for, and they just bring him in. I mean, you can never have enough bats. I always say that. You can also never have enough pitching. More so, you can never have enough pitching. I think for the Yankees now, you got your bat. You got your contact hitter. You got your guys that's going to drive in runs. You got your guy. Benintendi, lefty bat. Everything the Yankees need he brings it to the table. Love the move. Now it's time to focus on the pitching. Whether that's a bullpen arm, whether it's a starting pitcher, whatever it is, you need to bring in an arm or two. Scott Barlow from the Royals, who knows? I mean, we just traded with the Royals. You could also, Luis Castillo, that's the big guy. If the Yankees get Luis Castillo, this trade deadline would be an absolute home run. Hit it out of the park, and if the Yankees, if the Yankees continue to struggle, well, that's just unfortunate. But if they get, even with Luis Castillo, if they get Luis Castillo, this team is really scary. Because Luis Castillo, what he's done this year in Cincinnati is phenomenal. Another guy in the middle of a career year. You get guys when they're hot. You get guys when they're playing their best. You want guys to be at their best for a championship run. You're getting Benintendi at his best. And if you trade for Luis Castillo, you're going to get him at his best because he's in the middle of a great year. Frankie Montes could also be an option too. A little bit of a smaller name, but we know what he brings to the table. We've seen him with the A's. A guy, too, that, has been a very, very solid pitcher for them. A guy that is coming from the A's, very well could be a move that could really he could take off when he comes here. Because you could look at it as it's hard to get motivated to pitch every 5 days for the Oakland A's when they tore down their entire roster and they're tanking. Right? If he comes here and he's motivated to pitch more, more so to pitch every 5 days for a team that's competing for a championship, you could get even a lot better out of Montes. But both guys are good options. Luis Castillo would be the big, big prize, though. If you get Luis Castillo is headlining all the pitchers. Relief, starting pitchers, all the pitchers. He's the best pitcher on the market right now is Luis Castillo. He's an ace. He's an ace for the Reds. Majority of baseball teams right now, he's an ace. You add him to a lineup of Cortez, Cole, and now Castillo, it would look really big. So, big move for the Yankees. Love it. Really much needed. And I love the way that Cashman has shown some aggressiveness. Just ugly 2 games at Citi Field. You also got to give it to the Mets, too. The Mets played well. Boone got outmanaged a little bit, too. Showalter just made some smarter decisions. But I think the big thing was, the Mets also going in, I think, are just a little bit more talented. It's not even so much talent. It was just, they were a little bit more talented going in. The bats, the overall just hitting, overall just offense. A little bit more talented. Yankees now add that much-needed bat. So, Andrew Benintendi's time with Kansas City Royals is over after fewer than 2 full seasons. All right, so here's the trade details. So, the Yankees today announced that they have acquired outfielder Andrew Benintendi from the Kansas City Royals in exchange for minor leaguers Chandler Champlain, TJ... Is it Sycamore? And right-handed pitcher Beckway. So right-handed pitcher, left-handed pitcher, and another right-handed pitcher. So 3 pitchers are going over to Kansas City, and the Yankees get their big bat. It's funny, though. It's really funny because you see this sometimes at the trade deadline where a player will get traded and he'll either play his former team or he'll be on the road. For example, the Mets play the Nationals Monday through Wednesday of this upcoming week. Trade deadline's on Tuesday, August 2nd. Let's say they trade for Soto. Soto, on Wednesday, is going to have to flip dugouts, and he's going to be playing for the Mets, but still in his home ballpark for one more game. So it's always funny when you see this, and this is the same thing now. Benintendi flew in. They played a game yesterday with the Angels. I would assume he flew in with the Royals last night. He now gets traded. So he now has to hop from Royals clubhouse to the Yankees clubhouse. Hop from third base to the first base side. And it's funny, too, because if the Yankees would have traded for Benintendi after this series, since the Royals are in town for 4 straight games, Thursday through Sunday, Benintendi might have to never even leave New York because he could have just stayed and if the Yankees would have traded for him then. So it's pretty convenient. Benintendi was already on his way to New York, and then they could trade for him. So I don't know if he'll be in the lineup tonight. It's always interesting to see how that stuff works. It helps that he's already in New York, I'd assume. Unless if they kind of already knew that this trade was going to happen. Unless if they already kind of had a feeling and he didn't travel with the team and instead he's kind of clearing everything out in Kansas City. Or they didn't expect it. He flew in with the team and stuff like that. But it's definitely going to be funny. Either way, he will play the series. I don't know if it'll be tonight or whatever, but he'll definitely be in. So looking forward to it. Great move for the Yankees. Love it. And tonight they open up a series against Benintendi's former team. Tonight, first game of a 4-game set against the Royals. Alrighty, so now we're going to shift gears. Excuse me. So now we're going to shift gears into a little baseball now. By the way, this is what... Sorry, in baseball now. Football, I meant. This is what a Yankees lineup could potentially look like when everyone is healthy. LeMahieu leading off playing third, Judge at center, batting second, batting third, Rizzo playing first, batting fourth, Stan playing right, batting fifth would be Benintendi playing left, batting sixth, Glaber playing second base, batting seventh, Carpenter DHing, Jose Trevino batting eighth, catching, and then rounding out the order, Falefa batting ninth, playing shortstop. So that could be what a lineup looks like when everybody's healthy. Right now, it's going to look a lot more like Judge, Hicks, Benintendi, because Stanton's on the IL. But that is what a lineup would look like when everybody's healthy, and that's very well what your postseason lineup could look like. Carpenter at DH, I could see the Yankees maneuvering. Carpenter's a bit, obviously he's been great. He had a single yesterday, but he's a guy that I could see the Yankees maybe flopping in and out. But that would be a proposed lineup. And then your pitcher, whatever it is, Cole, Cortez, or Castillo. But that's what a lineup potentially would look like. So, Benintendi in the 5 spot, that's a big, big hole. And you also assume, look, number 1, 2, 3, 4 hitters, those are going to be your guys. And that's been the biggest issue with the Yankees. The top guys get on base, and in the bottom of the order, although it did some damage, I believe, what was the first game at City? I think the bottom of the order did some damage. It was after that they couldn't get any runs across. It'd be like a second and third 2-out situation, and the 5-6 hitter come up, and they can't get any runs across. So Benintendi in that 5 spot, LeMahieu, Rizzo, Judge, or Stanton get on. Benintendi's that 5-hole hitter, second and third 2 outs. Now second and third and out. Now he comes up to the plate, and that's what's so big about this move. It gives you that big, big boost to the middle of the lineup. So I love it. Good move for the Yankees. I know I've said it a lot, but I'm pumped up. It's a much-needed move, especially when you see a team struggling and, Cashman clearly needed to just give a jolt to this lineup. Definitely needed. All right, so now let's get to a little bit of football. So, like I said, it's this time of year. Football is slowly coming back into the equation. Training camp started yesterday, and I want to start with this, all right? You're going to have storylines, or not so much storylines, but after each day there's going to be, a headline, there's going to be a storyline, a certain player does great, a certain player does bad. Anytime a player does great, you got to feel happy about it. You got to give him you got to feel good about it. You got to praise him and all that stuff. You don't want to say, oh, this guy's going to be, go off this year for 1,000 yards or whatever it is, whether it's if an edge rusher makes a sack one day and has a really good day, you don't want to say, oh, this guy's going to have 15 sacks and be better than Aaron Donald. But you also, want to feel good about it. So Denzel Mims yesterday. And also, if a guy has a bad day, you don't bury him to the ground. You don't say, oh, he's done for the year, terrible. It's training camp. Training camp's the time to not only work the rust off, but really get into football game shape. So then by week 1, you're ready to rock, ready to roll to take on the 18-week, 17-game season. But yesterday, Denzel Mims was, and every day you're going to have guys like that. Some days maybe there won't be any kind of really standout guys. But you're going to have guys that stand out, a couple days. There's going to be days throughout where guys are going to stand out. There's also going to be days where maybe guys struggle. It's going to happen. We're all human. Baseball players, same thing. Judge last night, one of the best hitters in baseball. He went 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. It's going to happen. But in terms of Denzel Mims, he was yesterday coming out of training camp. Wilson did well, looked good overall in the day. Made the throws he needed to make, commanded the offense, did what he needed to do. And like I said too, this is I don't know if I've said this yet, but if I have, I apologize. I might be repeating myself. There is no pads yet. So these guys aren't in pads. So you do have to take this a little bit with you could take this as a grain of salt. You could also take it as Denzel Mims' revenge season. But yesterday, Denzel Mims had a very impressive first day of practice. Played really well, made some really nice catches, and really looked like, or what we all were kind of hearing from all the beat reporters tweeting stuff out, looked like the guy the Jets drafted coming out of college in 2020. That's the Denzel Mims we saw a little bit yesterday. And like I said, you don't want to overanalyze the first day. It's the first day of training camp. But it is a positive sign to see that Mims had a good first day, and to see, too, that his kind of success in the mini camps and the offseason stuff has kind of carried over into training camp so far. I know it's only day one, but the reason I say that is because if you remember, it's, Mims came in, coach staff was, solid. Guys were happy of the way Mims was coming to training camp. And it almost seemed like, in a way, he had an extra, he was kind of ahead of the game. Because if you remember last year, he had like a stomach virus or like a food poisoning incident during training camp last year, I think it was, or was it COVID? It was some like illness he was dealing with. And he lost a lot of weight. It really kind of beat him up a little bit. And he was behind the 8 ball the entire season. He had to try to get caught up during training camp, then he had to try to get caught up during the season. And the season was set up for failure for him. Barely played, even when he was in there, really never got his number called, wasn't active very often. Just was not a good season. A season to forget for Denzel Mims, especially for a guy that went into his second year hoping to make that year 2 jump and hoping to make it with a new quarterback in Zach Wilson. Didn't do that last year. Played 11 games, had 8 catches, 23 targets, 133 yards. Just was not the guy that we all hoped going into year 2. And minicamp OTAs came in, looked good, looked like he was much more prepared, looked like his body was ready. And it's almost like he was ready to really come onto the scene and explode this year. And yesterday, like I said, I know it's only day 1. And this has all got to carry into a game. But yesterday is a really promising sign if you're the New York Jets. Because if you can get Mims activated and unlocked, and if he's the guy that the Jets, if he turns into the guy that we all thought we were getting coming out of Baylor in the second round of the 2020 draft, which, by the way, I love the addition of Denzel Mims. I thought we truly got a first-round talent in the second round. I really did. What I saw at Baylor, he was the guy I wanted all along. Even when the Jets traded back, I was like, oh gosh, are we not going to get him? I wanted Mims all the way. We got him. I was super pumped up. His first year, he had dealt with some injuries. He showed he showed some promise. He showed some progress. And like I said, last year really wasn't good. But if this season, if he can come through and he could be, that solid depth wideout outside of Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Braxton Berrios, if he can be like that 4th option for Wilson, and if he could put up solid numbers, that's huge for the New York Jets. Depth at the receiver position, something the Jets haven't had. If Denzel Mims can provide that, and if Denzel Mims continues to stack up good days in training camp, he's going to prove himself, and he's going to get a lot more opportunities. He's going to get a lot more playing time. Because one of the biggest issues for the Jets has been depth at the receiver position. They haven't had that. And if you can get that in Denzel Mims, that's huge. If you can get more of the consistent flashes that we saw in 2020 this year, that's huge. It's also big. If the Jets, I don't think this would happen, but if he starts to play well and if he starts to play well and he's starting to play like a starter, but he's just behind guys because there's just guys better than him, like Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, and Braxton Berrios. Those are Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson are going to be your main 3 wideouts, and then Berrios slot. So Mims would be that 4th, 5th guy if he continues to play well, and rotate in. But if teams see something in him, maybe you can get something for him. I'm just throwing out options. He's only 24 years old. Look, he's only going to his 3rd season. He's played 20 games, and he's going into his 3rd year. 9 games his first year, 11 games his second year. Has not played much at all. He's been hurt. He hasn't played, in the games that he was active, just didn't play much. It's kind of been a tough 2 years for him. And, he comes in the COVID season, that was all a mess. It's just been a rocky start to the NFL. Now with finally a solid coach, a solid quarterback, a solid offensive scheme, second year under this offense, maybe this is finally the Denzel Mims that we expected to get. Maybe he's going to take that year 3 jump. And maybe he's going to be a really solid depth option, a 4th, 5th wideout for Zach Wilson. Because if he can unlock, that's huge for the Jets. And it was a really promising sign just to see that yesterday. And also just to see that, he obviously came in ready to go, had a good first day, and I think he's going to come in with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He wants to play. He obviously wants to get his opportunities. He was the second-round pick 2 years ago, and he just hasn't done, he just hasn't lived, he hasn't gotten the playing time, hasn't lived up to expectations. But I've said this about Mims. He's tall. He's 6'3", not extremely tall, but he's lengthy. He's got long arms. He's a good deep ball threat. He's a guy that can win one-on-ones. He brings a lot to the table. I'm not saying he's going to be the Jets' number one receiver, but if he continues to stack up good days, this would definitely be solid for this offense. And it was good to see that he had a good first day. And, you're going to periodically have, good days. And you obviously want to hear good things, too, about a lot of the starters. If backup guys are doing great, that's good, too. But you want to hear good things about the starters. How does Elijah Moore look? Is Garrett Wilson progressing and getting better each and every day as a rookie? I'm very excited to see what Garrett Wilson can do. I am. And I love the move to bring him in. And I'm very excited to see what he can do for this New York Jets team, because a lot of people, and myself included, now I'm not saying that he's going to turn into a Jamar Chase, not saying that, but a lot of people believe that he has that potential to burst onto the scene like a Jamar Chase. Out of all the receivers in the draft, he has that potential. And I really believe that if him and Wilson can get that connection going early, that's huge. And it just, I know this year is, so big for the Jets just in terms of winning and stuff, but, and being more competitive. But, if this year works out the way we all expect it and hope it works out, you're going to have this young group and these young guys for a long time. Even just to look further on past this year, Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson are going to be, if everything plays out the way we expect it to, they're going to be great players for a long time. Wilson is going to have two young receivers, two guys that they're all going to, improve and get better each and every year together for a long time. Not just this year, but years to come. Garrett Wilson's a guy that I'm really excited about. I'm excited for this entire receiving corps, specifically the starters. But if Mims, like I said, continues to produce and has good days like he did yesterday, some of the catches I was hearing he was making were big. Some like a one-handed catch, like an acrobatic catch. Some really promising signs out of Denzel Mims. And the more receiver depth, the better for the New York Jets in this offense, because they've lacked it for a long time. The more depth, the better. So good to see Mims having a good day one. And I think we're all similar to Becton. We're all rooting for Mims. You want to see him do well. A guy that the Jets drafted, you want to see him, kind of turn into the guy that we all hoped he would be. He's not going to be a number one receiver, but at least, be a guy that the Jets, at least be solid, at least be that solid depth piece for the New York Jets. All right, so as for the New York sports update and the rest of baseball, to finish things off here today, you got the Marlins, Reds, Rays, Orioles, Pirates, Phillies, Tigers, Blue Jays, Guardians, Red Sox, Astros, Mariners, Dodgers, Rockies, Rangers, Angels, and Cubs, Giants. Yankees, Royals today. Yankees come into today's game 66-33. Royals come into today's game 39-59. This game goes on today, 7:05 p.m. Eastern on Yes. The Royals have, is that Brady Singer on the mound, I think? Yeah, Brady Singer on the mound. He's 4-3 with a 3.82 ERA. And the Yankees have Jameson Taillon on the mound. He's 10-2 with a 3.93 ERA. Over-under set at 8.5. 7:05 on Yes. Does Benintendi make his first start with the Yankees? We shall see. Alrighty, and as for the New York sports, or fantasy baseball, I should say, I'm currently winning 162-148. No pitchers going in my main league today. And my other league, I'm currently winning 154-104. No pitchers either, but got the majority of my lineup going. By the way, my main league, Scherzer went last night, and he pitched well. Got me 22 points. Scherzer, man, he's good. He's good. He's fun to watch. He's fun to watch when you don't have to go against him. The Yankees had to go against him last night. Wasn't a lot of fun. But anyway, that will do it for the podcast today. Tomorrow, we'll wrap up the week, finish things off. So looking forward to that. And, Yankees, Royals tonight. Mets fans, you get a day off, so you get one more day to enjoy the Subway Series victory for the Yankees. Got to turn the page get ready to face the Royals, and maybe Benintendi can provide that boost. I'll tell you what. I love the move. I love the move. I'm super pumped up to see what Benintendi can bring. And I've been very critical, and I've always been very critical of Cashman, because I think Cashman over the years, and I've always said this as a sports fan and as a guy that does podcasts, I'm going to be critical, right? I'm going to say things, when you're doing well, I'm going to give you credit. When you're struggling, I'm going to, yell at you, I should say, right? I mean, that's how it is. When you're playing well, you're going to get your credit. When you're struggling, I'm going to tell you you're struggling. I mean, that's how I've always been. So Cashman, I've been very critical of. There's been a lot of decisions. There's been a lot of head scratchers. There's been a lot of missed opportunities when it comes to Cashman. But I will give Cashman credit. He's nailed a lot of really good moves. I mean, brought in Rizzo last year at the trade deadline. He's been a very nice addition for us. He brought in Trevino. Nobody saw him making an all-star game. Brought in Clay Holmes. And there's been a lot of other small moves. And I think this Benintendi move's one of those other moves. This isn't an under-the-radar move like a Jose Trevino or Clay Holmes. I mean, Benintendi was one of the biggest outfielders on the market other than Soto. But this is one of those moves where you just really feel like this can unlock this Yankee team and take them to that next level. It's just super excited for it. So, Yankees-Royals tonight. Looking forward to it. And, that will do it. So, I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.